This is Algebra 1, Lesson 31, Equations with Parentheses. We're going to do examples 31.1 through 31.5. In this first example, we're going to use these steps that I've written to the right. In the textbook lesson, they don't show these steps until the second example, but I want to go ahead and start practicing with it from the beginning. So the first step is to eliminate the parentheses. So we need to get rid of these parentheses, and the best way to do that is to do what's inside of the parentheses. But we can't do 3 minus b because they are not like terms. So the second best way to eliminate parentheses is the distributive property. So we're going to distribute the 2 to the first term and then the 2 to the second term. So I'm going to go over here and make a little note beside the steps. Eliminating the parentheses, you can do what's inside of them, or you can use distributive property. So I'm going to say you have two options that you need to consider. So keep that in mind when you're looking at step 1. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 2 times b is 2b, equals b minus 5. Now, our second step says to add like terms on both sides. And when they say both sides, they're meaning of the equal sign. So it's kind of like there's a dividing line here. Here's a side, and here's a side. Okay? Now, looking at the left side, there are no like terms. 6 and 2b, you can't do that subtraction. And on the right side, those are not like terms. So we can't do step 2. It does not need to be done. So 1 is done and 2 did not have to be done. Number 3, eliminate x on one side or the other. You get to choose. Now, when it says x here, it just means the variable. So in our problem here, it's b. So whichever term on the left that has b or on the right that has b, we could get rid of it. So again here, we're going to have two options. Okay, and it really doesn't matter which one you pick. In the first step, you are going to have to examine and see which option is best, and there will be one that's best. But in step 3, it really could go either way. So let me show you what your two options are. You could try to get rid of the minus 2b by adding 2b to both sides of the equal sign, or you could get rid of the b by subtracting b and then balancing and doing it the same thing on both. So for this one, you could add 2b to both sides or subtract b from both sides. Now, personally, like we've talked about before, I do better adding because I make less errors. So I'm going to choose to add 2b so that this cancels. I balance it over on this side, and I have 6 is equal to b plus 2b. Remember, there's a 1 here that they don't write, but there's one of them. 1b plus 2b is 3b, and I bring down the minus 5. So now I've done step 3. Now we're going to eliminate the constant term that's with the variable. So they didn't include that in their steps, but you might want to put that with the variable. Okay? And that means we're going to get rid of the minus 5. So let's add 5 to get rid of that. And let's go over here and balance. 6 plus 5 is 11. And that equals 3b. We took care of step 4. Let's eliminate the coefficient of x, or of the variable. The coefficient of our b is 3. They're multiplying by 3. So we're going to do the opposite and divide by 3. So now we have b is equal to 11 divided by 3. Now, since that's not even, 3 is not a factor of 11, we're just going to leave it as a fraction. And it's already simplified, and it's okay to leave it as an improper fraction. And that would be your answer. To check it, you could substitute 11/3 in for b in the original equation, and you'll see that it comes out. It works. Example 31.2. Again, we're going to eliminate parentheses. Notice that we have parentheses on both sides of the equal sign, so we can take care of those at the same time. Inside of these parentheses, they're not like terms. So I can't start by adding or subtracting inside the parentheses to get rid of the parentheses. That's one option, but it's not going to work for here. So I'm going to do the distributing like I did in the last example. and we're going to distribute for both. When I multiply by 3, 3 times the 1 is 3, plus 3 times a positive 2x is 6x. Then I bring down my plus 7. The 7 is not multiplied by the 3 because it's not inside the parentheses. Now I'm going to distribute the negative 4. There's a 1 in front of this x. So negative 4 times x, or 1x, is negative 4x. Then I'm going to plus negative 4 times 2, which is negative 8. And adding a negative, you could just have a subtraction there. If that's simpler for you, that would be fine. Okay, now I'm going to add like terms on both sides. On the left side, I see I have a 3 and a 7 that I can combine. Bring down the 6x. And I've taken care of that because there are no like terms on the right side. For step 3, we're going to eliminate the variable on one side or the other. So I could subtract 6x from both sides, or I could add 4x to both sides. You know I'm going to choose, let's add 4x to both sides. So I bring down the 10 plus 10x is equal to negative 8. It's important to remember that that minus in front of the 8 needs to come down with it. Now I'm going to eliminate the constant term that's with the variable, and that would be the 10. So let's subtract 10 from both sides. We get 10x is equal to negative 18. Now I'm going to eliminate the coefficient of the variable. They're multiplying by 10, so I'm going to divide by 10. X is equal to negative 18 tenths. Now, let's think of that as a fraction, and let's go ahead and divide the top and the bottom by 2. So that's going to be 9/5. So negative 9/5 is your answer. Example 31(3). We're going to eliminate the parentheses on both sides of the equation, and I can't do anything inside here or inside here because those are not like terms. So I'm going to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. 15 times 4 is 60, minus 15 times 5 is 75, and that's got an x, equals 16 times 4 is 64, minus 16 times 6. Let's see, what is that? 96. X plus 10. Now we're going to add like terms on both sides. There are no like terms on the left side. They do not have the same variable. But on the right side, I have a 64 and a 10. So that's 74 minus 96x. Eliminate the x on one side or the other. We can add 75x to both sides or add 96x to both sides. Let's add the 96x. Either way would work. So I have here the 60. This is going to be positive because the 96 has a larger absolute value. 96 minus 75 would be 21. And that equals 74. Now I'm going to eliminate the constant term that's with the variable. So that's the 60. Let's subtract that from both sides. And we get 21x is equal to 14. Next, we're going to eliminate the coefficient of x. They're multiplying by 21, so we're going to divide by 21. And we find out that x is equal to 14 over 21. Both of those are divisible by 7. So we find out that x is equal to 2/3. Example 31(4) has a little bit of something different in it, okay? It starts out in a similar way, but there's one little difference. Let's go ahead and look at the parentheses. I don't have any like terms here, and I don't have any like terms here. So I can't start by combining those like terms inside the parentheses, but I can use the distributive property to eliminate the parentheses. But what do you see here? What are they distributing by? There's not a number there. And since there's not a number there, it's just a 1. But you notice the sign there, it's like you're distributing a -1. And over here, there's a parenthesis, but really there's nothing being distributed on the right side. There's nothing there except for a 1. Okay, so let's see what that's going to look like. We're going to bring down the 12, and then we're going to distribute this -1 here. So that's -1 times 2x. It's just going to change the sign of everything on the inside. So it was positive 2x. Now it's going to be minus 2x. And it was plus 5, and now it's going to be minus 5. Then we're going to say equal to -2. This is plus x minus 3. There's nothing multiplied by it, so we can take those parentheses out. We don't need them. And that sometimes happens, and you have to be able to recognize when you need the parentheses and when you don't. So in this case, because there was a minus sign in front of the parenthesis, we had to distribute that. But there's a plus sign in front of this one, and when you distribute a plus, it's the same thing. So we don't need that. All right, we've taken care of eliminating parentheses. Now we're going to add like terms on both sides. We have a 12 minus a 5, which is a 7. Bring down the minus 2x equals a -2 minus a 3, which is -5. Bring down the plus x. Now we're going to eliminate the x on one side or the other. We can add 2x to both sides or subtract x from both sides. You know what I'm going to do. And I get 7 is equal to -5 plus, this is 1x plus 2x, so that's 3x. Let's eliminate the constant term that's with the variable. So let's add 5 to both sides. And I get 12 is equal to 3x. Now we're going to eliminate the coefficient of the variable. They're multiplying by 3, so we're going to divide by 3. And we get 4. X is equal to 4. Example 31.5. We're going to eliminate parentheses. Again, no like terms here. There's nothing to do in here. No like terms here. Nothing really to do in there. So we're going to use the distributive property where we need to. So here we're distributing a -1. So it's essentially just multiplying everything on the inside by 1 and changing the sign. So that instead of 4y will be a -4y. And instead of -17, that will be a plus 17. And then we'll bring down plus the -y. And there's nothing multiplied by that. That's okay. Now here, there's nothing distributed by this first set of parentheses. So we can take it outside of the parentheses. We don't need it, need the parentheses. There is sort of a distributing, not really, but multiplying by a -1 here. We have a opposite of the opposite of y, or minus the opposite of y, and that will be a plus y. So we do have these parentheses, but I think they're only putting those there because it's separating that negative symbol, the opposite symbol, and you really don't have to have that there. Nothing's multiplied by it, so we can leave it just like that. So we've eliminated our parentheses. Let's add like terms on both sides. Here I have a -4y and a -y. So that's like -4y plus another -1y, which would be -5y. And then plus 17 equals 2, I don't need to do the 2y plus a y. That's going to be 3y, and then -1. We've combined our like terms on both sides. Let's eliminate the x on one side or the other. So the variable, I can add 5y or I can subtract 3y. Let's add 5y to both sides. And I get 17 is equal to 8y minus 1. Let's eliminate the constant term with the variable. That's the minus 1. So let's add 1 to both sides. I get 18 is equal to 8y. Now I'm going to eliminate the coefficient of x. So the coefficient of the variable is 8. They're multiplying by it, so I'll divide by it. And I get a fraction. And they're both divisible by 2. So let's divide those both by 2. 9 over 4. So 9/4 is what is equal to y.